Hello everyone. Today I want to show you how to use easybib.com for your resources, for your works cited page. So this right here is a thesis paper. It's a term paper. I've researched, I've looked on EBSCO for articles. I've read books. I've compiled a massive thesis paper and I've put it all together. The paper's done, but I do have to acknowledge where I got my information from. I have to acknowledge all of my sources. For example, this source right here. This is a parenthetical citation. This information right here in this paragraph did not come from me. This paragraph right here, the information came from Mr. Layburn on page 63 of his book. So, out of all the books that I used to compile this paper, I used this one right here, the Scotch Irish. And if I turn to page 63, see that right here? Layburn 63. That tells the reader of your paper that on page 63 of that book is going to be the source of the information. But that's not all that you have to have when you're accounting for your sources. You also need to have a works cited page. So you can see this massive paper that I wrote. On the very end, all of the sources that I used are presented here. There's hundreds of them. And it's a very specific format for books, for magazine articles, for journal entries, for things that I found online, for things that I found on paper. It's a very specific format. This is your works cited page. Now, when my father went to school back in 1960, he had to memorize the format of how to do a works cited page. Thankfully, I did not have to. I just used easybib.com. So if we go here, easybib.com, free bibliography generator. Right now, the correct term is works cited page. Some professors, some teachers might get touchy about that. So we want to create citations. From this pile of book, all of the information that I wanted to use is found in these texts, so we need to account for that. So back on easybib.com, we are going to create citations. Now, here's a big important step. You might think this is the easy way out. Type in the name of your book and then just find it. So here's the source type. These are all the different types of sources that you could possibly use when you do a thesis paper. Brochures, cartoons, court cases, databases, other people's dissertations or thesis papers, a newspaper editorial, federal reports, federal bills, government publications. All of that has a very specific way of being inputted into your works cited page. But I'm going to tell you, ignore this part for now. It looks like all you have to do is just type in the name of your book. So let's pretend that I used this book right here, Tramp Abroad by Mark Twain. So I just typed that into easybib.com and hit cite or enter. The problem with that is there are thousands of copies of this source available, right? You can see all of these different books. It's a book that was written in the early 1900s or the late 1800s. There are hundreds of copies. And if I just click that and go to the first one, that could be the wrong one. Remember, on your Works Cited page, you've already accounted for what source you used. All right, I used a very specific book, Leyburn Scotch Irish book, but I used information on page 63. If I just make up a source, that will be a, a act of that will be an act of academic fraudulence, and you could fail the paper. You might even fail the course on the college level for making up your sources like that. There's a very specific protocol you have to follow. So I recommend when you go to easybib.com, don't enter that stuff in and have it auto cited. Right down here, you see manual cite. Enter that. So right now, it's going to ask you a series of questions. It's just basically a database. All right. So right now, did I use the textbook? Did I find an ebook online? Was this found on an online database, or was this an ebook in some other format? I'm citing the whole book, and then I'm going to enter in the information that I need right here. So first name, Mark. Last name, Twain. Publication, all right. The source, a tramp abroad. Now, we have all this information right here. Volumes, total volumes of the set, editions, series. If you look at my book, there is no volume, there is no series, so I can ignore that. I don't have to worry about that right now. The publisher, though, I do have to put that information in. And you can find that information on the title page. So you flip the book open, and on the first couple of pages, you're going to see the title, the author, the publisher, Hippocrene Books, and the city it was published. So going back to Easybib, and you're going to continue flipping the page, and then you will get the date. Now, this one doesn't. This book was written back in the late 1800s, but this specific edition was published 1982. So we're going to use that 1982, and we continue. That's pretty much all I need. Complete citation. So right now I have this format, and I have to sort it alphabetically. So if I had 20 or 30 different sources, I click that and it would be sorted alphabetically for me. And then also remember, this is the most recent edition of the MLA formula, MLA 8. Always remember to go with the most recent edition, the most recent format. Now, when I'm all done, I would export it to a Microsoft document or a Google document, and then I would be able to add that to my thesis paper. All right. I hope this was helpful. Thank you very much for your time.